The Chickamauga Chattanooga National Military Park. It's all part of one national battlefield, basically. And the reason why I think that it is a place that everybody needs to see is, first of all, it was the very first national battlefield in the United States. Started in the 1889, the United States Congress made the provision for it to be created and appropriated the funding. And one of the things I really like about the park is the fact that all of the battlefield is protected within the park. Because it was started so early, none of the suburban sprawl that has come out of Chattanooga was able to destroy the battlefield. It's moved all the way around it, but you basically have this wooded oasis there in North Georgia. So one can actually walk or drive, depending on how you want to get around, and see the entire battlefield. Now that's not the case in other places. It gives you the opportunity to combine history and nature. You come around a corner on the trail and there'll be a battery of guns, some artillery pieces sitting there in the woods where some battery was there during the battle. You'll come around through the woods and all of a sudden there's a monument with some soldier on it. So wherever you are at some point, you'll see something different, and it's just exciting, and it's just, you never know what's around the next corner, around the next bend. There were 5 original national military parks, and Chickamauga, as I said, was the very first one. So what that means is you're going to have all the battlefield. It also means because these parks were developed in the 1890s, these first 5, they're going to be better marked in terms of unit positions because the veterans themselves were involved in creating and marking the park. So those first 5 are really special. They also say a lot too about the time period in which they were created, because this was at the height of what was known as the Reconciliation period, where both sides of the Civil War were basically going to forget what the Civil War had been the cause of the war. They weren't going to talk about the slavery. They weren't going to talk about issues like treason and secession. Now what they wanted to emphasize was the common valor of both sides. It was a necessary part of the healing of the country. Now we've inherited a lot of unfortunate legacies because of that. People even to this day still argue about the cause of the Civil War. If we had dealt with that early on and gotten it straightened out, we wouldn't be still arguing about it today. But it's very American. Let's sort of set aside the causes of things. Let's just not talk about those unpleasant things, and let's emphasize the things that we have in common. Of course, what they had in common was common valor. So the battlefield monuments, while there are some to generals, they're practically all about the common soldiers. Every regiment practically, particularly on the U.S. side, because most of those men were from northern states, and so they had the wealth that the southern states did not have. They were able to afford beautiful monuments that are all over these battlefields. Chickamauga is just it's a classic example. It's also got this incredible Victorian feel to it as well. Again, it's the 1890s, it's the Victorian period, and it's just very ornate, that sort of over-the-top Victorian feel. You will see things like the units that were in the 14th Army Corps, their symbol during the Civil War was an acorn. And so a lot of the monuments have got either carved onto it, or you'll see even giant stone carved acorns on these things as a symbol of that particular Army Corps. It's heavily wooded. It's just an absolutely beautiful place. And in terms of Georgia, it is the one place that I would say that you definitely need to see in terms of a Civil War battlefield. And we have several of them.